You're listening to the Saskatchewan Real Estate Podcast, where we chat with real estate experts from across the province to learn what's happening in the real estate market. Here's your host, Ron Quaroni.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ron Quaroni, the host of the Saskatchewan Real Estate Podcast. Welcome to the very first episode. I'm really excited to be launching this brand new show where every week we are going to learn about a particular part of the province's real estate industry. We'll be catching up with real estate agents, mortgage brokers, appraisers, politicians, anyone who has an interesting viewpoint on real estate. And for our very first episode, I thought it would be great to catch up with one of our smaller centers and interview an old friend, Dan Torwalt of Century 21 Fusion out of Humboldt. How's it going, Dan?
Hey, Ron, how you doing? Nice to see you again. You know, we got a lot of connections. And like you said, you worked for Bolt FM right here, and it was right beside our office. So yeah, we got to know each other pretty good personally and at work and everything. And I remember when we used to do some little ads on the radio all the time, and you were our guy in there that we had to sort of go and voice the ad in. And I always say, and I still say, and I tell Cheryl this, you were the best guy in there with us because you always give us little tips and ideas, and you'd always make the ad sound that much better. And we sort of missed it when you left, but yeah, you were a big part of you were there, I think, for an initial when we first started it and everything, and we're still growing with it. Yeah, we got to know each other pretty good, and kind of sad when you left, but anything, yeah, you went on and doing better and greater things, and you're married now, so congratulations with that. And yeah, no, I'm really, really thankful that you asked me to do this.
Thank you very much, Dan, and I really appreciate you coming on today. You are a real estate agent, but your knowledge kind of goes beyond that in Humboldt. You are a past president of the Humboldt Chamber of Commerce and a longtime color commentator for the Humboldt Broncos, so you're really well entrenched in the community.
Yeah, like, we've been in Humboldt here now for 16 years. And like I said, yeah, with the community, I've always been, even from my hometown of Leroy, where I was born and raised, was always involved with a lot of committees, a lot of boards. It's still like small towns, you have to be involved with communities if you want to help them run, right? So I had no problem doing that. And like I said, yeah, I was on the chamber and with the Broncos and doing color and that. Of course, COVID sort of put a stop to that right now. And then I couldn't even do it this year because we couldn't have that many people in the booth. But yeah, no, it's been a lot. We agree lots with, community involvement. Me and my wife, Cheryl, we do lots with the community, have in the past. And right now we're sort of off a few little boards, which is kind of nice because, like I was telling you off air, the chamber took a lot of time. And I really enjoyed sitting on the Chamber of Commerce for 6 years, and I was a president for 2, really enjoyed it. Got to meet a lot of very intelligent, very community-minded people, and it was great. But yeah, like same thing, you do your time and then someone else steps up. So, but yeah.
Fantastic. Can you give us a bit of a background of how you got into real estate?
It's not something that when I was younger, say, hey, I want to be a real estate agent or anything like that. Like me and Cheryl, we're just young, got married young, right out of high school. And like a lot of people my age did. And I'm from Leroy, Saskatchewan, and Cheryl's from Inglefeldt. And I was a grain farmer there, and, started farming right out of high school, took the farm over from my dad and farmed for 25 years. We weren't big farmers when we first got married. 1,000 acres was a big farm, but nowadays you got to be 4 or 5. And 15 years, 16 years ago, we seen, you either got to get big or get out. I didn't have the manpower or anything like that to help me. I was just there by myself. So we just decided to get out of farming. I still got farmland, sold a couple of quarters. And then what do we do? So it was just a matter of, we said, well, we should run our own business. So I got hold of a real estate broker, Humboldt agent, and there was a business for sale, and asked him, just like anybody wanting to buy something, and asked him, hey, what's the particulars with this? And told him what my situation was. And all of a sudden, a week later, he phones me up, and the broker phones me up, and he says, hey, you and Cheryl should come in and sell real estate, join our company, and you guys can run the office and all that other stuff. We didn't have a clue what we were doing. Hindsight, if I look back at it now, I probably wouldn't do it again. And the only reason I'm saying that is it's very tough the first couple of years. Me and Cheryl both went into it initially, so we had no other income coming in at all. And we had 3 kids in school. Our oldest was in grade 12, 9, and 6. And, so it was just, yeah, it was tough. But I think what it did, it made us work our butts off like crazy because we had no other income, nothing else to fall back in commission. It's just straight commission real estate. And, and we sort of, we almost came to the point the first couple of years of quitting, just because it's tough, and Cheryl, I think, even had a job a little bit at the high school as a secretary at the time. And then all of a sudden the boom hit in 2007-8. We were established well enough. We got our feet under us up after then. And then in 2010, or 208, I guess it was. Then we bought the franchise for Century 21 in Humboldt, and we've been running that for 12 years now, and we've got 5-6 agents under us. And but initially when we came in, we had no plan. Even when we bought Century 21, the franchise brought it in. It wasn't like we wanted to get a bunch of agents. Just sort of progressed into that. It just sort of, someone would come in and say, hey, can we join you? Can you join you? And you work with them. And we've had agents come and go. It's not everybody's cup of tea. It's a different life, but it's we enjoy it. If you like talking to people and meeting people, but there's like anything in life, there's ups and downs with any job, and there's ups and downs with this. You have good deals, you have bad deals, and sometimes you're saying, what the heck am I doing and why am I doing it? And other times you're just so happy because you just really helped somebody out, right? So yeah, we're having a lot of fun with it, really enjoy it, and we're not going anywhere soon.
Sure thing. Yeah, like real estate usually has those ups and downs, and you talk about when you started, there's that low point, now you're riding the high. And I don't know, maybe 2020 has kind of been a small window of that, where it's just like everything has happened, really. We've had some really quiet times and some really high times. How have things been in Humboldt for real estate sales and things of that nature?
Yeah, it's just like, like when it's been slow the last couple of years. Just like the economy in Saskatchewan has been slow, right? When oil dropped and potash dropped and everything else, and you just you have to work your butt off, but you weren't making the income that you thought you were making. You really have to work hard for it. And then of course, the virus hit in March, and we're going, holy flip! Like, we were scared, like everybody. Like, I didn't know if I'd sell another house this year. Like, we just didn't know with the COVID, who's going to want to buy houses, who's going to want to go see houses, who's going to want to sell. Like, we were really concerned that, hey, is real estate going to be done? Are we going to be able to survive? And then all of a sudden, the government, for whatever reason, as a lot of things happened, the government opened up, so you could do things more or less May 1st. And then there was a catch up because a lot of people got caught, in mid-March. They sold their house, but they had to buy something, right? And all of a sudden for 6 weeks, they couldn't do nothing. So everybody was a catch up, right? I have to buy a house, I have to buy a house. We sold our house. I got to be in something in 2 weeks. And so there was that big push. And it just seemed like, interest rates are at an all-time low. They're under 2% now. The virus really made people think where they want to live and what was important. And they got out of, they want to get out of the populated areas. They want to get into smaller center rural areas, maybe who they want to live beside. They want to get closer to family, moving back to where family is. It just really made people really evaluate their lives. And it's just not Saskatchewan, it's right across Canada. And I don't see this slowing down anytime soon. Interest rates are staying low. The virus is going to, hopefully it gets under control with the vaccine and that. But I just think people have really changed where they want to live, and they want to get, and a lot of the baby boom, or not the millenniums, the 35 and unders, which I think, and you're sort of in that transition. And you said you just bought a house or a condo, and people are saying, I don't want to rent anymore. Let's take advantage of this and let's buy something. So yeah, from May 1st on until now, it's just been like, it's our best year in 5-6 years. Everybody's saying that right across the province. We're talking to brokerages, owners, real estate agents, and excuse me. And yeah, it's been kind of surprising, but it's good, and it's been a lot of fun the last 6-7 months. Busy, but a lot of fun.
So you'd say kind of a market shift in people's mindset when going to buy a house. It may be before, instead of, we'll see what happens and we'd like to get into it maybe in a couple of years. Yeah. COVID-19 kind of helped them solidify that we want to be in a house, we want to be in this area.
Yeah, that's probably one of the nicest things about it. We used to get calls like a year ago. Someone would phone you up on a Sunday morning or a Saturday night and say, hey, I'm in Humboldt tomorrow, and look at 6 houses all day on Sunday. And so you set it all up, and then once you're setting it up and you show them the houses, they say, well, we're not looking at moving here for a couple of years. We just wanted something to do this afternoon, look at houses. And you're going, okay, that's how real estate was. Now with the COVID, everybody's serious. Anybody that you're showing houses to are serious. You don't have the tire kickers anymore, which is kind of nice. When you're listing a house, people are serious, when people are showing the house, that they're serious, because people aren't just going on a Sunday afternoon looking at houses with the COVID, right? There's a lot of regulations you have to follow, and everybody's really respectful of everything. They don't want to put themselves or buyer or seller or anybody else in a situation, right? So anybody that's looking at houses now are serious. So that's kind of nice factor about it too, is, you've got serious clients for the most part. Yeah.
Let's touch on that, Dan. For people who are looking to get into buying a house, I'm sure sometimes you have to kind of walk them through it a little bit of like how prepared you have to be. Is there things a person should look at having ready when they're looking to buy a home?
Well, the biggest thing is pre-approval. That's the biggest thing. Go to the bank. It's not your final approval, but it's at least pre-approval. And what that does, it sets you up. You'll talk to your mortgage broker or banker, and they'll look at your income. They'll look at your debt. They'll tell you more or less, this is the type of house that you affordable that you can buy. Like, there's no use looking at $400,000 houses. It's the most that we can approve you is for 300. Then it
Right.
narrows everything down, because there's nothing worse than, you show people houses, they put an offer in, and they're excited because they get an accepted offer on a $300,000 house, and all of a sudden the bank says, sorry, the only house you can buy is 200, and you've wasted like a lot of time. And it's depressing too for people when that happens, and they have to reevaluate everything. So we tell everybody, hey, get it pre-approved. And not only that, but the other thing is, it's not so much here in Humboldt, but you get into the cities and that, where you get multiple offers going in maybe, or you get a hot market or a hot house that comes up and everybody wants it, that you want to be prepared. You don't want to be sitting there and thinking, well, I got to talk to my bank first. You want to have your financing in place. So at least you know that you got a really good chance that you're going to get approved for this house because your financing is good. And it's funny because some people, the odd time, they think, well, I got pre-approved like 3 months ago, but I bought a half ton in between. Well, if you're going to buy a house, don't buy a freaking half ton until after you buy the house. That's what,
Right.
so,
Yeah, is there a timeline for
sort of,
that you say people should have that all locked in beforehand, Dan?
it's just a matter of like going, like this is what we do a lot of times. We tell people, have you been pre-approved? And if they haven't, we still show them the houses because you don't want to discourage people. But we say, hey, as soon as you can, get hold of your mortgage broker. They'll ask you certain things, in order to get approved, so you have stuff in place. And usually, a bank or mortgage broker, if they're sharp and they get going, usually, a week, 10 days, they can get someone set up where they don't have to be where they're really disappointed after the fact. So that's probably the biggest thing, is get pre-approved. I know there's some agents in the bigger centers that they won't even show people unless you are pre-approved. Like, you'll come and they'll, say, hey, can I look at these houses? And they'll say, have you been to the bank, get pre-approved? And the agent says, sorry, I'm being nice, but I'm not going to waste my time with you. Get pre-approved first, because it's such a hot market right now. 2-3 years ago when stuff wasn't moving, or last year when stuff wasn't moving, you could sit there and look at a house and go to the bank and take your time. The house is still there. We're finding now people are looking at houses, they're excited, they haven't been pre-approved. They go back to the bank just to see if they can afford something, and then all of a sudden the house is sold.
Right.
So, and so we always say that's the number one thing. In case some people say, well, my financing is good, I got real good jobs. Well, that's a different story. But especially the younger people, people, sometimes they got student debt, they got house or car debt, who knows what else. You got to sort of watch with stuff like that. Or maybe they had some credit rating because they didn't pay a credit card off 5 years ago, and it's affecting their credit, right? So all those things come up.
Right. And if they haven't gone through that first time homebuyer process, maybe they're not sure exactly what they're looking for. They don't know about total debt service ratios.
And that's our job as agents. We educate people, and we tell them that, if you're a good agent, you're telling those people, that's the conversation you're having right off the hop, all those little things. And then the whole process, the home inspection process and all these other things. And, and just sort of trying to find, what they're looking for as a family. They have young kids. Are they looking at having family? Are they looking for location with schools and job locations, spouse locations, all those amenities for families to get into? That's our job as a realtor to say, this is what a community has for you, so it would fit for you. Yeah.
For those of us who don't know, Dan, what's the population of Humboldt right now?
It's probably around that 6,500. I'm thinking it is a city. It's the smallest city in the province, but I think it's 7,000 people is what the city of Humboldt. We work an hour and a half around. To get any farther than that, you got to know the communities. And when people ask you, about a community and the school and jobs, and if it's 2 hours out of the way, maybe you don't know it good enough to be able to justify helping them, right? Plus, it comes with time restraint too. If you're listing something 2 hours away, and if you got to show the property the time you drive there and get back, it's 5 hours of your day. We try to stay within an hour. We can sell the whole province. I'll do farmland, farther all over the province. I'll do some farm patches because I am licensed for commercial, farmland, real estate. But residential, we try to keep it close. Commercial and farmland, I will go out, all over the province. We can sell. We're licensed, sell all over the province. But anything with residential, we try to keep it close. If somebody wants to go outside, then we refer it to another agent. And agents will refer stuff to us too the same way. So it's a nice networking like that.
I want to come back to the farmland, but first, what two-part question? What is the most sellable house in Humboldt, and what is selling really well right now?
Probably family dwellings. It's like anything. Condos are a little bit slower right now because people want to get into more of the housing market in their small towns, right? And that's and it's affordability of it too. Like you can get a nice house for $250,000 in the city of Humboldt, 3-bedroom home. Probably the higher end houses, when I call higher end in Humboldt, I'm talking 250 to 400. A lot of those sell this year, and a lot of those houses haven't been selling the last couple of years for whatever reason. I'm just thinking it's, there's a lot of people that have struggled with the COVID in their jobs, but there's some people it hasn't affected at all. They've got good incomes. Like I was saying, the millennials have come in, they're educated now, they got good jobs, both spouses have jobs, they're looking for families, housing with family. So yeah, it's probably that 3-bedroom. You want that 3-bedroom up. That's a big seller, also a 3-bedroom up house, because young families, kids don't want to go in the basement usually till they're 12, 13 years old. So if you have a 3-bedroom up, that's always a big market. Yeah, and the newer build, like you can get a 10-year-old house for 350, 400,000 in the city of Humboldt. That's 10 years old. That's in a great location, and it's a new build area. So yeah, it's kind of nice. We're only an hour from Saskatoon, and they're fixing the highway up there on. As you know, the highway is kind of crappy, or has been. So they're making that. So within a year, it should be completely good with passing lanes and wider. So it's going to be a nice commute to Saskatoon. An hour from Saskatoon isn't much for people, especially even for jobs and other things. So yeah, that's probably your housing market is probably that. Houses, you can get a house for $7,500,000 in Humboldt. A lot of those are revenue properties or 1-bedrooms. You got to watch a little bit with maybe the basements and crawl spaces. And your highest ones, we just listed an in-town acreage here just last week for a little over 600,000. And yeah, so it varies. You can get houses anywhere from Humboldt from 100,000 to probably your high-end houses is that little over 600. Yeah.
So do you foresee more people from Saskatoon potentially taking up residence in Humboldt with that highway improvement? Or does it just make it easier for people from Humboldt to get back and forth to the bigger center?
I think it's going to be easier. If anybody does come back, and we are seeing it, it's because, like I said, people are reevaluating where they want to live and who they want to live beside. And this, they want to maybe be closer to mom and dad, right? Or grandma and grandpa, or brothers and sisters. We are seeing that. This is an example. I had a house, in a small town of Bruno. The mom and dad moved there about 3-4 years ago, and their daughter works up at Fort Mac. She's in 2 weeks, out a week, and she told her parents years ago, she says, "I'm never living in Bruno. I'll live in Saskatoon before I live in Bruno." Here she come in and she bought a house in Bruno. Why? Because she wanted to be near mom and dad, right? So, people are seeing that. So I think they're seeing family a lot more important. So, and with it, you be close, and if you have to get into Saskatoon for something, or maybe one of those posts even north there, medical or anything else, with the highway being improved, it's going to be a big difference. I don't think you're going to see people moving from Saskatoon to Humboldt because the highway's better. I don't think that's going to happen. People are Saskatoon still, because it's 350,000, and that's where 2 of my kids live in the city and they love it in there. But it's just going to be, I think when people have families and young families, they all of a sudden they want, hey, can I get close to mom and dad? They can help with raising the kids, with babysitting and running them to activities and all that kind of stuff. So, and Humboldt's a great place to live. It's got all the amenities. You can't ask for anything else. It's safe, pretty well. It's got a great hospital, great high schools, great public schools. Yeah, it's a great community living. I'm happy living here. Yeah.
Could small town Saskatchewan or small city Saskatchewan benefit from something like COVID-19, where more people are working from home? So it's not really important maybe that you're living in Saskatoon. Maybe if you have an online job, but you can be in a center like Humboldt that has everything you need, Canadian Tire, Tim Hortons, McDonald's. Will we see in a couple of years more and more people going to smaller centers, perhaps?
Yeah. I think you will. I think you'll see that a lot. So just be interesting, because there are a lot of people working out of their homes right now instead of driving or going to work and like that. Where that trend is going to go, is it going to continue like that, or is it going to go back to once the vaccine is here and the virus is controlled, or everybody's going to go back? It's hard to say. If I had a crystal ball, I'd be a gazillionaire, predicting stuff like that. I still think, people still need, to work in a social environment. You can work out of your home, just like we're doing through Zoom here right now. If we could be sitting across from each other in normal time, you could be interviewing me, but we're doing the Zoom and it works. Sure, it's comfortable, it works, but I still think people need that social aspect of working in the working environment. So, it's hard to say where it's going to go. I don't know. I hope it goes back, because I'm a social person. I think most people are, and I think if I can't see the world just all of a sudden becoming where everybody just works out of their houses and does Zoom meetings with everybody else and sells online, because that's really going to affect the economy big time. And like I said, I sat on the chamber, so I'm a big business guy, supporting business. And I know there's a lot of businesses that are struggling with this COVID here right now, especially the hotel industry and restaurant and small businesses. And, there's sure people can say, support local and order online and curb pickup, but it's like anything. I know, and you're probably the same thing. When me and Cheryl, we used to go into the city and you go buying one thing, you buy more than one thing when you go into a store, right? You end up coming home when you come home with $400 worth of stuff instead of 100, right? So, that's just the economy. That's how people buy and sell, and you're not doing that anymore, right? So I sure hope that, everything gets back to, that's the normal, that people go back to supporting businesses in small town, because, they're struggling. They're just going through this. It'll be interesting because the Christmas is a lot of businesses' time, where that's where they make their money, right? And so it'll be interesting how they come out of it. So, I'm a positive guy. I think we will. I think the government is doing an excellent job with this vaccine. We just got to be a little patient with it. Everybody has their opinion on the vaccine. Everybody has their opinion on the virus. I'm not saying one thing or other. I'm just saying everybody should respect everybody, what their opinion is. And, I'm sure that, everything's going to get out, and I'd sure like to see things back to normal as far as, meetings and all this stuff. So will it, that someone can move to Humboldt because I can do Zoom meetings in Toronto all the time and I don't have to go there? It's probably going to affect some. Some people are going to do it, but how much, I'm not sure.
Not to let it go too far without touching back on it, I wanted to come back to the fact of the farmland, and that you have kind of a thumb in that. And what are you seeing from farmland prices, and are people buying or selling more or less? What are our farmers up to?
Farmers have had an excellent go here the last 6-7 years. They struggle a little bit with getting the crops off and that, but probably the number one thing, and I know when I farmed in the 80s, it was moisture was probably the thing. We were droughts, right? And when you don't have a bushel in the bin to sell, it's tough. The last 6-7 years, they've grown some great crops, especially around this area here. It's not only the weather's been good with the moisture and stuff like this, but farming technology has changed so much. It's all direct seeding now. They conserve moisture. They can lay so much fertilizer down in different levels, and the seed varieties have just been improving all the time. So that they're growing big bushels, and they're I just heard the other day they're talking more about getting where they get resistance to diseases and bugs and all these other things. So it's just going to be, technology is just changing so much, and the farmers are feeling good, and when they're feeling good, and like I said, we said at the start, farmers are getting bigger. They're hiring people year round. Families are joining up. So they're and when you feel good and you had some good crops off, like I talked some guys, some bigger farmers, they say this year was their best year ever net. Maybe the bushels weren't quite there, but the expenses were down because fuel was down so much and other things. But they say, yeah, so when they're feeling good, and farmers, they'll spend money. That's just the farmer's nature. They aren't people that hoard their money and sit on it. They spend, they contributed around the community, buying equipment, building sheds, shops, all these other things. But yeah, definitely farmland. Anything that comes up fast is anything comes up usually sells within a month or something. A lot of people interested in it. And, I guess on the real estate end, they just, you see some people selling privately and some people going through lawyers and papers and stuff like that. And I just wish more would go through the whole real estate market end and put it out there, because, we see a lot of people that sell their farmland, and it just sort of, I see people, they sell it for a lot less than what I could have sold it for if they would have given a real estate agent a chance, because it's that third party, you don't get emotional when you're negotiating, and it gets into the widespread. You can get people from all over. I just sold a parcel 4 quarters of land about 2.5 hours from here. Another agent brought it in, and it's just the way it is, and we both negotiated the best, and I got him more than I thought I would get him for it as a selling agent, or as a listing agent, and the buyer came up to it because they wanted the land, so it's a win-win for everybody. So yeah, I see farmland, there are little pockets that have been struggling, but for the majority, I think province-wide, you're going to struggle with weather, you're going to struggle with drying grain. That's the part of farming. I know when I got into it, I was 16 years old, and my dad said to me, he says, don't get too excited on a good year and don't get too down on a bad year, because there's ups and downs with everything, and you just got to ride it out. And I think most farmers do go that now. But yeah, it's I want to get into it more now that I'm off the chamber and stuff like this, and Cheryl more into the I want to get into the farmland, which I was doing like 7-8 years ago. Get back into it again, but yeah, it's a fun. I love talking to farmers. Like I said, I was born and raised on a farm for 25 years, and they're some of the funnest people to be around and talk to and negotiate with and everything. So it's a lot of fun. So yeah.
Definitely. So moving forward, what's your best guess of what's coming up in 2021, Dan?
You know, it's like I said, we sort of touched base with you a little bit. I don't see things slowing down at all as far as real estate. And number one thing is the interest rates. You know, the government's saying those things are going to stay underneath 2% for the next 2-3 years. Like that's almost free money. Like, you know, like I know when I started farming, I remember I bought some land in 1990 and interest rates were 14%. And I bought some land because the guy bought it from me. He was locked in for 9.9, and I thought I stole the flipping land because I got 9.9% interest rates. You know, and same with housing. When we first bought our first house and we were married, you know, it was like the loans were like 10%. Like now you're getting like 1.75 locked in for 5 years. Like that's almost like free money. And so, and it's not going to change. Government can't change it. You know, they're not going to raise interest rates because they got big debt themselves too. So interest rates are staying here for a while. So that's going to be the big thing. So I just see it happening. I think people are really wanting to, like I said, change where they want to live. They're taking advantage of the market and prices aren't jumping. Like they're not like going up extreme prices. It's just if you put your house out there, it sells. And that's nice. You know, I went to Saskatoon last week. At that time, I'll go into Saskatoon and I listed a house there. The very first day, I had five offers on it or 5 showings, sorry, and I got an accepted offer that night within 1 day because it was a prime location, a prime house, right? So you don't see that quite in Humboldt, but houses does sell. There are people that they'll look at a house and they'll phone me up and they'll say, hey, I'm ready to put an offer in. I say, geez, sorry, you know, I just got an offer on it. So you can't hesitate, you know, you got to have, as I said, like that pre-approval stuff, have everything in line. So if you like that house, jump on it.
Fantastic. Before I let you go today, Dan, I'm going to ask everyone this question when I do these. What is your dream property in Saskatchewan? So you can have fun with this, whether that's that perfect quarter of no rocks, no bush land there, or whether it's that perfect place by the lake. What would you say is your dream property?
I should have my wife Cheryl. You can see my wife Cheryl. She's right there in the picture. We both sell real estate. We're talking called the Torwalt team. I should have her in here because she'd probably something different. You know,
We'll
I
get
don't know. I
Cheryl
guess,
on.
you know, yeah, you said you want to get her on, yeah. You know, probably, you know, I know Cheryl, she would like to live in Saskatoon because she likes attending like the arts and the sciences and concerts and all those other things. So, you know, I don't know if I'd want to have a big yard anymore. I farmed for 25 years. I had an acreage or farmyard that I looked after, cut grass, and I'm past that. So it probably would maybe be in a condo. A dream thing for me would probably be like anybody else. It'd probably be a lake property. You know, that would probably be something that you know, you could buy and Sun Lake. And I could see ourselves if we would do something like that, have a summer lake property, nice on the water, something like that we can enjoy the Saskatchewan summers because they are so great. The winters are another thing. You know? So I could see ourselves, you know, all of a sudden maybe going south for 3-4 months, enjoying some warm weather, coming back up here and living on a lake property. And who knows, maybe having a lake property, if we just want to stay straight Saskatchewan, you know, and all of a sudden I won the lottery or something like that, and maybe have a lake property for the summers and have just a small condo in one of the cities or something like that and live in the winter in the cities because our families, 2 of our boys live in Saskatoon. So maybe something like that, have 2 properties, a condo on the river in Saskatoon and something on the lake, and so a guy can enjoy the long summers of Saskatchewan. That's probably our dream places, yeah.
Keep it near the water. Fantastic.
That's right, yeah.
Dan, tell us about where people can find you. What's your contact information? I know you've told me before you do great Friday videos on your social media platforms. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, there's 2, like now we're doing into the videos things. On a Tuesday, I do a serious one. It's called the Torwalt Tuesday Talk. I do a 2-3 minute video just on what's happening in real estate, just like we're doing now. Talk about the market, what's happening in Humboldt, what's happening in Saskatchewan. Every 2 minutes I go on there and I talk that and throw it on Facebook and Instagram, these other things. And then on Fridays we do a funny one, and that sort of came off of like when you were with the radio station in Bolton. We used to do a little 15-second ad or whatever, and we talking about things that I couldn't do, make fun of me. it's sort of like every wife can make, they can say that their husband, and you probably find that.
If anyone doesn't have access to Humboldt Radio, you missed out on absolute gems. Yeah.
So now we do it on videos instead. So now we're doing a video, and it's neat. It's like if everybody ever watched Seinfeld, the TV show, you can find something funny about everything in life. And so we have fun with it. It's things that I can't do, and it's stuff. And I think we're at 30 episodes now, and we just make fun of it and just goofy things. And we could just be talking in general about something else, and we get an idea for something. So yeah, that's what we do with marketing ourselves a little bit, and that's just more or less, we're not marketing actually properties, we're marketing ourselves as agents, right? And then otherwise you just find us on our website, Century 21, Dan Torwalt, Cheryl Torwalt, Torwalt team. We've been working on that a little bit. So we're easy to find now with Google. Just even Google our names. If you Google Dan and Cheryl Torwalt, Humboldt, Saskatchewan, will come up. Our websites come up. Our contacts come up. Our phone numbers come up and everything. So yeah, we're having a lot of fun with the marketing. Has really changed in the last 6, 7 years, 10 years. And yeah, we're just having fun. We enjoy, doing the little videos, talking. Not everybody does. But once you get more used to it, it's just like I was telling you the other day, when I first started doing this with Volt FM, and Clark Stork was the play-by-play guy in Humboldt, and he wanted me to come up and do color on the Bronco radio games, and I never really talk much like what I'm doing now in public. And he just said, hey, you like watching hockey, just sit beside me and pretend we're watching hockey, even talking hockey. And that's exact same thing. I told you this in the Zoom, you were talking to me and said, hey, we're just going to talk like we're sitting in the office just talking real estate, and that's how we approach it. So yeah, we have a lot of fun with it. It seems like the people in the community, a lot of people come up to me, they feel sorry for Cheryl because they have to put up with with living with Danny, but that's then we know they're watching our ads, so kind of fun. We're having fun with that. Yeah.
Well, fantastic, Dan. Thank you very much for taking the time, and I really appreciate chatting with you. I'm sad it can't be face to face, but the video conferencing has worked pretty well, I think, and I really appreciate your time. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and your expertise.
Yeah, no, thanks for asking around. Like I told you, I was very honored. I know this is the first podcast you've done, and you asked me to do it, and I was very excited and honored to do it. And like I said, I just told you before, hey, we're just going to talk, and we're just going to, whatever comes up, we'll talk about. And it's the best thing. Make it authentic. Don't try to make it too scripted. And I really, really appreciate it. Yeah, and who knows, maybe you'll get Cheryl on here too. I know she doesn't like to talk as much as me on there, but she is she's usually pretty good. Maybe we'll get us both on there. Maybe that's how you'll get her on there. But yeah, we definitely would for sure. If you'd ask us again, we definitely would say yes. And yeah, great thing you're doing here, Ron, and success with what you're doing. I know you're going in a different direction with your career too, and lots of success in that, and I'm sure you will. And with you and your family and wife, and have a safe Christmas, and stay strong, man.
Same to you, Dan. Merry Christmas.
This has been the Saskatchewan Real Estate Podcast. If you like this episode, find more information and episodes on our Facebook and YouTube pages. If you'd like to be a guest or have a conversation you'd like to learn more about, let us know by messaging the show on Facebook. Thanks for listening.